Oh. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om and good evening from Niagara Falls. Religion is rehabilitation. Religion is rehabilitation, and this rehabilitation begins with honesty, with one being honest with oneself. If you think of physical disintegration, suppose there's a crack in my femur, or I have carpal tunnel syndrome, or something that's weak in my body, it is quite apparent to me because my elbow hurts or I can't walk in a normal way. Still, it's usually a professional who points that disintegration out to us. That I think you have a problem with your foot, or why is your neck like that? In regards to mental and intellectual disintegration, that too is apparent. I would say it's equally apparent as physical disintegration or physical weakness. But because we can't see that with our eyes, we tend to ignore that disintegration, other than those who are sensitive. A sensitive personality will know there's something wrong with the way that I doubt, with the way that I decide, the relationship between the mind and intellect. Someone who has this quality of sensitivity, that person, when they feel this disintegration, this weakness, they begin to associate with a professional. Just like typically a medical professional will point out physical disintegration, a sensitive personality will know that their mind is not thinking in the right way, and they'll start to associate with a professional. We don't call someone who helps mental and intellectual integration as a professional. We call them as a Sadguru. A Sadguru. And if you open up this word, you start with Ru. Ru means to remove, to delete, to make whatever go away. Gu can mean darkness. I like to think of Gu as impossibility. So Guru is the one who removes the impossibility. Now, the impossibility of what? That's where the prefix, or the other part of the word, Sat, which becomes Sad, not sad, it becomes Sad. Here, Sat means the truth. A Sadguru is the one who removes the impossibility of the truth. The one who removes the impossibility of mental and intellectual integration. And they do this, they remove this impossibility by making God real. That's what a Sadguru does, is they make Bhagwan, not just an idea, but they make Bhagwan a reality. And the methodology or the means that they use to make God real is by making God's words come to life. God's words we call as our scriptures. And from a bhakti perspective, from a devotional perspective, in our Vedanta and Ramayana course, we've studied that Bhagavan Narayana breathed out, and that breath was crystallized, and that became the Veda. How beautifully the Veda is described as literally, that is Bhagavan. Right now, Vyasa is sleeping. When I refer to Vyasa, I'm referring to my son. If I'm referring to Bhagavan Ved Vyasa, I will say Bhagavan. I will say Veda. Okay? Right now, Vyasa is sleeping, and because he's so small, sometimes when we're looking at him from a monitor or from outside the room, you can't tell in an obvious way if he's breathing because he's so small. So we have to go very close to him to see if he's breathing. And even then, he's so plopped against the bed that you still can't see if he's sleeping. So sometimes I have to blow on him, almost to just irritate him. And then he'll breathe in or he'll move his arms. And if I can hear his breath, that means he's there, correct? In the same way, if you can feel Bhagavan Narayana's breath, which is the Veda, that will naturally lead you to Bhagavan Narayana, to Bhagavan. This factor that we call Sadguru is decisive. It is mandatory. It's unavoidable. One cannot integrate the mind and intellect without a Sadguru. And we are all evidence of this. But before I get to us as evidence, I want to put out there, we are people of lots of belief and little faith. Lots of belief and little faith. And we shouldn't feel bad. We should, but not so bad. Because I'll give you some precedent to this. We've already studied in Srimad Bhagavad Gita in chapter 4, where Bhagavan Krishna tells Prince Arjuna that I taught this knowledge, the same knowledge that I'm teaching you right now, Prince Arjuna, I taught this to the sun at the beginning of creation. And Prince Arjuna begins to question him, how were you there to teach the sun at the beginning of creation when you and I used to play together, we used to fight together? And Arjuna is the Uttama Adhikari. He has so much focus, he has so much background in living in the Gurukula, yet still Arjuna doesn't have faith in Bhagavan Krishna, no? Lots of belief, little faith. I come to more recent times to Bhagavan Acharya Shankara. Acharya Shankara is around 32 years old. He knows that his body is going to die, so he's in the Himalayas. He's in Badri Ashrama, and his disciples, his shishyas, are following him. And he's telling them that this body is going to die, so I'm going to return to Bhagavan. And they say, no, you can't go, you can't leave us. And so Acharya Shankara has to give those same prime disciples, Sureshwaracharya, etc., etc., etc. He has to give these same disciples Sadhana Panchakam, 40 more insights on how to practice what Acharya Shankara has been living his whole life. No. And I'll bring it to even more recent times. In our Vedanta course, did we study the Upanishads first or Srimad Bhagavad Gita first? What did we study first? Shubhani ji is in this class, so she can't answer the question. We studied the Upanishads first. We studied Srimad Bhagavad Gita after that. And after, when you study the Upanishads, which are apparently more subtle than Srimad Bhagavad Gita, when you study the Upanishads, you have lots of belief, but it's hard to translate that into practice, isn't it? It's hard to bring that to faith, which is why Srimad Bhagavad Gita studied after that to take that belief and evolve that into faith. No text is more practical than Srimad Bhagavad Gita. now coming to us. So I said this about Prince Arjuna and Acharya Shankara's disciples in the Vedanta course. But what about us? Please tell us something negative about us so we can wake up too. We all have a propensity to make rehab casual. We make our mental, intellectual rehabilitation, and another word for that is religion, we are casual with this. We're excited for the Bhagavad Gita course today, but when you have to fill in a questionnaire 2 weeks from now, what happened to your excitement then? Shouldn't you be equally excited to fill in the questionnaire then? When you take physical rehabilitation casually, you know the result of that, correct? If you're supposed to rest your fingers because you text too much, but you don't rest your fingers, correct? Then there's problems that come with your fingers forever then. On the plane last night / this morning, I got to sit in an exit row. And that's like a sattvic bonus for me, that I get a little bit more room. And the person was talking about, if the plane is crashing, you open the door and so on and so forth. And then he said something very clever I've never heard before. And I've flown a lot. I was very appreciative of the cleverness of this attendant. He showed us that folder. This is an 800 plane. He said, read it before you need it. Read it before you need it. And immediately my mind went to, yes, Bhagavad Gita, read it before you need it. Ramayana, read it before you need it. But all of us, with our casual relationship with rehabilitation, once we need it, we read it, no? And so, our Pujya Guruji, Swami Tejomayananda, has designed a course, the Bhagavad Gita course, for us to make rehabilitation full-time. That this is coming to in your own home, the same home where you count money, where you pay bills, where you fight, where you cook. Guruji is trying to make this full-time for us. And our Vichara Gurukula team is trying to create an experience. Taking this Bhagavad Gita course, trying to create an experience where the focus is practice. Some of you in the feedback said that you want to study these shlokas more in depth. And I appreciate that wish, but are you practicing what you know already? Why are you studying more if you're not practicing more? No? Why buy more groceries if you're not eating what's in your home? Isn't that wasteful? And so I want to be very clear that in this course we have more than 175 people registered. I think our youngest student is 22. That's a huge spread of personalities. But I feel what links all of us is that we have lots of belief and little faith. So we're trying to create an experience that focuses on practice. That's why there's discussions. That's why there's raws, and on and on and on. With this introduction to recommencing our Bhagavad Gita course, we have to remember what we've studied so far. Our culture's history is called, so here's where I'm asking you to type in the chat room. If I ask you, then you shouldn't say, no, you told us not to type. I am asking you to type in the chat room. What is our culture's history? What text best encapsulates our culture's history? Any guesses? Sanatana Dharma Itihasa Mahabharata. Correct. Our culture's history is called Mahabharata. Bharata is our nation, where our culture lives. And I don't mean nation as in country. Okay? This is where our culture lives. And this is the macro's history. And if it's a macro's history, it naturally is the micro's history too. This is our history, Mahabharata. And I'm sure you know this. This historical text was actually not called Mahabharata. That's a secondary name. Going back to the chat room, do you know what the original name of Mahabharata is? Jaya. Yes. Jaya is the original name of the Mahabharata. And this Jaya again is focusing on the macro. But when Jaya comes to the micro, it's not called Jaya, it's called Vijaya. Vishesha Jayati. A special victory. And that special victory is bringing the mind and intellect together. To make the mind quiet, to make the intellect still, because when they come together, when there's quietude and stillness, we come to realize silence, which is infinite. There's no noise in infinity. To magnify this truth of what Jaya is about, that the focus is Vijaya, to magnify this, Veda Vyasa inserted this truth in a most beautiful way in the center of Mahabharata. And this heart of Mahabharata came to be known as Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And I want to play on this word heart. I know nothing about medicine, but I think that Vivek, if my brain doesn't work but my heart is working, I can still be alive. But if my heart is not working and my brain is working, I cannot be alive. Which is why it's very beautiful how Srimad Bhagavad Gita is the heart of Mahabharata. And if this is the heart, it shows that this is the most important part of Mahabharata. This is the most important part of the micro's culture, of the micro's life. There is nothing more important than Srimad Bhagavad Gita, whose vision is that integration. In Sanskrit, we use the word dharma. Srimad Bhagavad Gita introduces to us a personality whose name is Arjuna. And if you remember what I asked you to do whenever you study Srimad Bhagavad Gita, is to cross out the word Arjuna with pencil and put your name there. Arjuna comes from the root or the basis Arjava. Arjava means straightforward. He was a straight shooter. Literally, he was also a straight thinker too. And why that is to be noted, because I already told you, religion is rehabilitation, and rehabilitation begins with honesty. Arjuna was straightforward. Arjuna was honest. And Arjuna's honesty is best shown when he realizes that he's losing. Arjuna, who never loses. Mahabaho. Dhananjaya. Each of his names is about winning. Arjuna's honest that he's losing to himself. He hasn't lost to Bhishma or Drona or Duryodhana. There's been no arrows that have been shot. All that's happened is Bhishma's blown his conch. He is losing to himself. He is losing to the lower part of who he is. And he feels this through moha, bhaya, shoka. Moha is he's confused. Bhaya is this confusion is causing him fear. This fear is causing him sorrow. And so comes Bhagwan. And in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, if you study the shlokas, before the shlokas, what is shared is Bhagavan Uvacha. This is what Bhagwan said. See, it doesn't say Bhagavan Gita. It doesn't say Bhagwan sung. It says Bhagavan Uvacha. This is what Bhagwan said. Uvacha, like to speak. And I love how Veda Vyasa or our culture has come to call this Gita, because that's what God is. God is joy, and joy expresses as singing. Sri Rama Gita, Bhikshu Gita, Hamsa Gita, Kapila Gita, Bhagavad Gita. This is what God is. God is joy. And so all that comes from God is joyous, and every one of us can relate to music, no? Whether it's classical Indian music, whether it's alternative music, whether it's the sound of water flowing down a stream or the wind blowing. Gita. Not Ovacha, but Gita. In Bhagwan's song, if you're following Bhagwan's song, you're going to reach Bhagwan, correct? If your mind and intellect are integrated, which means there's quietude and stillness, you're going to realize divinity. These are all the same messages. In Bhagwan's song, he shares in his first chapter, he shares Arjuna Vishada Yoga. The word yoga here I want you to interpret as aware. To be aware, we are losing. Arjuna Vishada Yoga really is Vivek Vishada Yoga. That I should be aware that I am losing. And I'm not losing to you. I'm not losing to another country. I'm losing to myself. Whenever I'm confused, whenever I'm afraid, whenever I'm sad, I am losing. Bhagwan continues to sing. And so in chapter 2, he focuses on Sankhya Yoga. Bhagwan teaches in chapter 2 to be aware of victory. If you keep focusing on losing, you will lose. But if you're aware of victory, you know that you could reach that. But if you don't know about victory, how can you ever be victorious? Swami Tejomayananda shares, a happy slave is the worst enemy to freedom. A happy slave is the worst enemy to freedom. See, a happy slave doesn't know that there's victory, so they just keep on losing. And please remember, when you lose, the people around you lose too. And that just keeps on expanding. I am aware that I'm losing, chapter 1. I am now aware of victory, chapter 2. In chapter 3, Bhagwan sings about Karma Yoga, to be aware of preparation. To define karma as action is continuing to lose, or at least being neutral. But here, Karma Yoga means being aware of preparation. Here, naturally, preparation for victory, right? If you're traveling tomorrow to fly to Kansas City, you probably have booked your flight, you've checked in, your bag is sort of packed, in your mind you've decided what time you're going to leave your home, etc., 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 correct? You don't just pick up and go, and definitely not to Kansas City. If you're going to pick up and go, you're going to go somewhere warm, somewhere fun. So preparation for victory, chapter 3. I'm allowed to say that. I'm going to Kansas City in a few months, okay? In chapter 4, Bhagwan continues to sing, and he sings about Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Yoga again means aware. To be aware that this victory or this vision has to be in preparation for you to be released from limits, to be released from losing. I'm going to say that again. In chapter 3, it's almost like Bhagwan is giving us theory. He's saying, be aware of preparation for victory. So Arjuna says, yes, I know I should be prepared. I know I should exercise. But then in chapter 4, he says, now you have to actually exercise. You can't just know to exercise. You have to actually exercise. So in chapter 4, Bhagwan is saying this vision has to be brought into this preparation. As you're acting, how are you acting? Why are you acting? And if that becomes clearer, you're released. That sannyasa is being released from the lower part of us. Being released from what's limiting us. If you think of what's limiting us, it's the gunas, no? Another word for guna in English is rope. You start untying those ropes. And in chapter 5, Bhagwan continues his song through Karma Sannyasa Yoga. To be aware of implementation in preparation. Okay, so he's amplifying He's deepening chapter 3 to chapter 4, chapter 4 to chapter 5. In chapter 3, he's saying you have to be prepared. In chapter 4, he's saying this vision should be with you while you're being prepared. And in chapter 5, he's saying implement this vision in your preparation. You see how wonderfully Bhagavan Krishna is taking us from belief to faith. That's exactly what we need. We don't need more belief. We need more faith. And Bhagavan is so eloquent, so subtle in how he brings this to life. And if you followed along with Bhagavan, with Guruji, with our Vichara Gurukula, if you're prepared, you will know 2 changes in your personality. The first change is you will start to feel nishkamata. Nishkamata means selflessness. Our propensity will not be to be selfish. We will have a propensity to be selfless. Nishkamata. And the second change that we will feel in our personality is samadhana. Samadhana is to be absorbed. That selflessness doesn't just stay there. You go deeper and deeper and deeper into that selflessness. Selflessness is still a means. Okay, I'm going to say that again. It's still a means, but samadhana is indicating that that means has to take us to a deeper ends. And naturally, samadhana should take us to samadhi, which is where chapter 6 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita comes in. This is where we will continue next week. Narayana.